precision gives you an edge. We offer state-of-the-art therapies to target cancer, which means fewer side effects and more of you living life. Side by side, our collaboration with Mayo Clinic enables our cancer team to consult with world-class experts and deliver you uniquely personalized treatment plans.
In America, the future belongs to everyone. Let's create yours with a built Ford Tough truck. Ford F-150 with impressive max towing capability and available Pro Power on board so you have power on demand. Be future ready with Ford F-150.
Tomorrow might be hard to see, but tomorrow is right in front of us. And we're always looking towards it. Investing another $4 billion in renewable energy and low-carbon solutions through 2025. And lowering emissions by modernizing our infrastructure, bridging to a sustainable energy future.
The trick to throwing well is knowing where you want the ball to go. Like how the local bankers at First Western Bank and Trust take the time to learn about you and recommend the banking services like online banking or personal loans that keep your goals on target.
First Western Bank and Trust. You can bank on us.
Circle Sanitation is a locally owned family business providing quality waste hauling services since 1980. We provide service to residential and commercial customers, as well as roll-off service for large projects and construction sites. We are dedicated to providing excellent service at competitive prices without deceptive contracts or hidden fees. For more on what Circle Sanitation can do for you, call us or visit circlesanitation.com.
Nothing has embodied the American spirit like the family farmer. Year after year, they continue to work the land and plant their crops. Through droughts, floods, and uncertain markets, they keep that spirit alive with another crop harvested for the next generation. And for that, we tip our hats to them. Farmers Union Insurance, protecting those that protect America's food source.
Life is for living, and at First International Bank and Trust, we're all about living, helping your dreams come true. Because we're not just in the banking business. We're in the first home business, the community sponsorship business, the how do I make this happen business, making your banking life easy so you can focus on what matters most. First International Bank and Trust. Live first.
Hello and welcome into Tauros Tribune Live. I'm your host, Ken Oda. Kobe Brault is alongside. And great news, Tauros fans. We finally get to start playing hockey again.
It has been a long time coming. Maybe the longest 2 weeks of my life personally, Ken. But yeah, it's finally here. Home opener. Couple days, couple sleeps away, and couldn't be more excited to get the season rolling. Yeah,
a weird start to the year for sure with the usual preseason stuff, and then a trip to the NHL showcase, and then 2 consecutive off weekends. It seems like every team gets 3 weekends off, and 2 of ours come right at the top of the season, which we'll talk to Cody about in a little bit. That's probably not ideal for the coaching staff, and I don't think it was ideal for us. We were all going a little stir crazy in the office, but we finally get to play some hockey. And with that, I think before we get into all the hockey stuff, let's just address new title for the show, new season, and Tauros Tribune Live. For those who have been with us a long time, started out as Tauros Weekly, then we dropped the weekly format. I don't think there was enough content to warrant a weekly show. Mm-hmm. Went to Tauros All Access, and then last year with the launch of the digital magazine, the Tauros Tribune, which first edition of the season came out today. It's on our website. We decided to kind of tie everything together and start calling the show Tauros Tribune Live. And I think honestly that it's going to be awesome for the fans to be able to
kind of see things play off each other, right? With the Tribune Live is going to be something, you know, a little bit more focused on, you know, individual segments, kind of telling the whole story of the season is the main goal. And so being able to do that through the magazine in print for those that, you know, still enjoy reading about the players, reading about the team itself. And then you got, you know, us coming in every few weeks and talking about what's new, what we have upcoming. You know, I think it'll be a nice refresh and a nice new spin on something that, like you said, you found success with often over the last decade or so.
And, you know, and we're going to have some new features as well here on the show. We're going to do more pre-produced stuff. We've got plans to do mic'd up segments with guys during practice. We've got some other fun things planned as well. We've got a new series called On the Boards, where we've got Paige Schultz sitting down with players doing interviews, literally sitting up on the edge of the dasher on the bench. We've also got, because we are the Tauros Tribune Live now, tied in with the Tauros Tribune, we'll have interviews with the guys who work on the Tauros Tribune. Andrew Lennox, we'll hear from him in a few minutes. But before we get into all those features, let's start with it. I mentioned it at the top. Tauros went to the showcase. Kobe, you came along as well, and while it was certainly frustrating on the tech end, and fans, we know you're frustrated with the changeover to NATV, and I promise you, not just us here in Minot, but teams around the league office, everyone's working on it to try and get it going and make it better than it was on Hockey TV, not just up to where we were, but ahead of where we were. And Kobe, we could talk a little bit about that, what we've got planned as far as road broadcast being better as well. But, you know, aside from those frustrations, overall, a really good performance at the showcase.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm guessing we'll you know, talk a little bit more about that during the season preview coming up here in a couple segments. But yeah, I mean, the showcase, that was my first time being in Blaine, seeing the Super Rink, kind of seeing what it's all about, meeting a lot of the league officials that before had just been an email address. So that was cool to put faces to names. But yeah, the team, I mean, 4 very different games, I would say. Which I guess is probably one of the main draws of the showcase, is playing outside of your division. It's, you know, in our division especially, it seems like it's a rivalry every single night. There's a lot of hard hits. There's a lot of bad blood. But, you know, over there, it's, you know, playing the Maine Nordiques. You're never going to see them unless you're playing them in, you know, a few months in Blaine for the Robbie Cup. So that was cool to see, you know, just kind of the league as a whole, what everyone has to showcase. And obviously, you know, to go 3-1 is a strong showing, one of the better showings in franchise history, if I remember you and I talking correctly.
Yeah, I think there's been a couple other years we won 3 games. The one year we won 4, but that win on the opening night of the showcase, for us, that was only our 4th win all time on day 1 of the showcase. So the showcase had been a bit of a battle for the Tauros over the years, and I think I will have Cody on. He can talk a little bit more about it as well. But overall, I think pretty happy with the showing. And that fourth day is always a crapshoot. It just comes down to 4 games in 4 days with everyone is exhausting. And, you know, that 2-1 score, I thought the Tauros got the better of the chances early, didn't get them to go in. And then trying to come back down 1 in the 3rd period, you could tell just everyone on both teams was gassed. Right?
Yeah, and I honestly haven't been around the sport as long as all of you guys, but yeah, that was definitely the most amount of times that I've seen a puck hit the post and not go in, the inside of the post. Yeah. There was 3 or 4 times in that Saturday game against the Wendigo where it was like, I have no idea how that wasn't a goal. But I mean, I don't think we got, you know, screwed over or anything. Yeah. But I think that honestly, they, like you said, the 4 days, the 4th day is always the toughest one. But yeah, I mean, like I said, 4 very different wins, 4 very different games. But all in all, I thought it was a really fun week, and I'm glad that we had the last few weekends off, just, you know, to have a weekend off. But I'm ready to play some hockey for sure.
Sean, do you have that graphic? Just kind of going over the results from the showcase. It's been so long. I'm trying to remember the final scores off the top.
No, the next one. Yep.
The scores off the top of my head there, but you know, overall a really good showing, 3-1, and I think what impressed me is, you know, I think only one of those wins did the Tauros score the first goal, right?
Yeah.
So it was overall, you know, a team that battled back, a team that played well. I think there's obviously a lot of talent in this group, and I'm really excited to see how they look going into Central Division play there.
Absolutely, yeah. And I mean that Corpus game, a couple different delays there at the end of the first period. And a lot of reasons to lose focus, right?
Yeah.
But those guys, they took it and they battled back and they got the win. And to learn how to win this early in the year, I think is super valuable. And I'm sure we'll hear coach's thoughts on that later on in the episode. But yeah, like you said, to walk out of anywhere 3-1 is about all you can ask for.
And the other thing, that September 14th game, the win in the shootout, I think, Cody can speak on it more, but I think it's valuable to get a shootout early in the season. Last year we only had, I think, 6 games total go to overtime.
Right.
I think getting through that process and going all the way through, getting overtime, getting that first shootout, getting that all out of the way, so that when it does happen later, guys have already had that experience. Some of these guys will come from levels of play where they don't do shootouts, or they don't, they play overtime and that's it. So yep. I think a few years ago we had one goalie who we had a shootout at the showcase, and I talked to him after, and he goes, "That was my first shootout," because he had only played high school before. He had never done it. So
right.
Probably not the all of our goalies this year have played junior in the past, so I'm sure they've all been through one. But again, just some of the forwards, they've never taken a shootout attempt if they played only high school level before. So
right.
Getting things like that out of the way early, I think, is good.
Definitely, and especially, like I said, you head into our division, and every weekend it means a ton. When you're on the road, it's a hostile environment. Over there, it's not really a hostile environment. It's just full every night. It was a great atmosphere for that Ice Rays game, because the
TDP was playing after.
The national team was playing afterwards. So that, and then with the delay, it ended up being a sold out crowd by that second and third period. So it's cool for the guys to get that in more of a neutral environment rather than having to go to one of these places where it's pretty tough to play.
So last thing I've got for fans before we go out to our first segment, which is Andrew and Paige. We've got the chat open, whether you're watching on YouTube, if you're watching on Facebook Live. Some people have already jumped into the Facebook chat, but whichever platform you're on, feel free to jump into the chat if you've got any questions for Kobe or I, or Noah Grant will be alongside to talk about the Tribune after this video segment, and then of course Cody Campbell will be on to wrap things up. So if you've got questions for them, drop them in the chat. I'm keeping an eye on it here on the tablet. So without further ado, let's go out to Paige and Andrew.
Joining me now is one of our writers for your Tauros Tribune, who is currently in California, Andrew Lennox. Thank you for joining us, Andrew.
Thanks for having me, Paige.
Well, Andrew, you're writing for the Tribune. This is your second season going into with writing for the Tribune. Last year was the first year. Has there been anything in the process that has not been included in any articles that we're going to be seeing so far, or even last season?
Yeah, definitely. Recently, I was able to catch up with co-captain Weston Knox just after the showcase. I believe it was a couple days after, and was able to write an article about him. And one thing I didn't include in the piece was, and I didn't know actually, that he actually won a high school state hockey championship with Andover High School. So that's pretty cool. I had lived in Minnesota at one time, so that I know how big of an accomplishment that is with all the teams there and whatnot. So yeah, that was really cool to learn something I didn't know about one of the players.
Can you kind of just tell about the article you wrote for October's issue, or even some previous articles that you've written for us?
Yeah, so like I said, I was able to catch up with Weston Knox. He was, I think it was like a day after the showcase, a day or two, and the Tauros did great there. They were 3-1. I think he had 3 points in 4 games, and it was just cool to talk to him and see how excited he was coming out of that weekend, and with the prospects of, he just he was pumped to go into the games against Aberdeen. I believe it's Aberdeen this weekend.
Yes, it is Friday and Saturday.
Yes, Aberdeen. We just talked about his off season a little bit, and then what it's like to he felt very honored to be the co-captain, named the co-captain for the first time in Tauros history along with Trevor Stooliak, and he really excited, to represent his team in the community. And, being a second year Toro, it was just really excited to get back, especially after recovering from a knee surgery.
Yeah. What are some things about last season that were really cool that you wrote about?
Yeah, so I covered in my second article for the Tauros Tribune coming up. We talked about, or I was able to, write about the last season, and just some of the the positives of the season. You had Hunter Longhi and Chase LaPinta had just amazing seasons, and it's pretty cool that they're able to further their hockey careers. LaPinta is going to Arizona State, and then Longhi's going to AIC. So it was really cool how well they just did. Like, I mean, they scored a large percentage of the Toros goals last season. And then I went into just some of the things that need to be improved for this season. I think I believe so. The Toros gave up the most goals for in the division. So I think that that'll be something that Coach Campbell will, be looking to improve on. I noticed in that I think there was 6 goalies that saw action last year. I know there was some injuries and just some changes made. So I think that'll be a big something that will be handled by Coach Campbell this season. And then I just went into what to look forward this year. Just there's 8 veterans returning, and then so they're bringing a ton of experience in, but they will be expected to step up, with Longhi and LaPinta moving on, and with them scoring so many goals, and then on the back end with O'Hannison leaving, that's going to be a big shoes to fill with all 3 of those guys.
Yeah. So you kind of mentioned you're looking forward to seeing some of the veterans step up, seeing some of the newcomers. What are you looking forward to writing for the Tribune this season about some of these players even?
Well, I got to catch up with a bunch of players last year, and just it's really fun to learn about their different backgrounds, whether they're from Canada, the East Coast of the United States, Minnesota, North Dakota, even European players. It's just, it's really exciting to just learn how they got to become a Toro. Everyone's had a different path, and that's something I'm really excited to continue doing this season.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Andrew. We'll kind of let you get on with your day, but thank you for sitting down with me today.
All right. Thank you, Paige. Thanks for having me.
All right, sorry fans, we lost video there for a moment. Not sure what happened there, but we still had the audio, so we didn't want to drop it. I think it was awesome to hear from Andrew and Paige. Joining me now is the creative director of the Toros Tribune, which went live today. You can hit gotoros.com, and there's a picture of the cover on that right sidebar. You can click right on that. It'll take you to the current issue. You can also look at all of last year's issues. If you're so inclined, the archive is right there below the embedded Tribune Live or Toros Tribune cover. So Noah Grant, welcome in. Before we get to the season, fans may already know you as the color voice on home games and select road games, but tell us about this year's version of the Tribune.
Yeah, a lot of work obviously going into it. It was a project that kind of ended up being more on my shoulders, but not in the sense that we originally thought. It just kind of became a brainstorming idea where we decided to switch platforms. Previously, we had used FlipSnack, and then we moved on to Adobe InDesign, which, of course, I was kind of the guinea pig for testing out how all of that worked. And then as I started to plug more elements in, we kind of realized that, hey, you've been doing this for a while. Maybe you should just keep going. So I think it was anywhere between about 60 to 80 man hours, all things considered, to get this first edition locked and loaded. So it's an exciting prospect here. I think we made really great strides in our first year, getting a chance to, get the first Tribune out. I helped with that one last year. But with anything that's brand new, it takes a little bit of time to kind of flesh out what works, what doesn't. And I'm hoping that this year's edition is hopefully kind of a revamped version, gives a little bit more interactability, a little bit more seamless transition between things. And the beauty of it too, not that we couldn't do it last year, but it's much easier for us to update things in real time as things go on throughout the month. So for example, if you're talking about the Tauros Tribune Live, for example, those videos are going to update automatically on, I want to say it's page 4, I believe, of the Tribune. You'll get to see the new ones when they come out bi-weekly.
And also, being able to do those extra video pieces and stuff like that auto update are a lot of fun. But also, I think, the bread and butter of the Tauros Tribune is getting fans that inside look, or getting, it's one thing to watch these guys play, but there are a lot of cool stories about our players. And, just over the years, we've had so many players come from so many different backgrounds. The one I go to a lot when I talk to people is that, at one point we had a kid off the Mexican national team. You don't think of Mexico as a big hockey hotbed, but we've had players from all over, and I think getting to know those players' stories, and this really, you and I try and share some of those facts when we're not talking about collective nouns on the broadcast, but really the Tauros Tribune allows fans to get more in depth on all of our players.
Yeah, it certainly does. And you think about players from a bunch of different backgrounds. I think a prime example that's down and out is Colby Bear, right, from Manitoba. There's somebody that I can't wait to be featured and hear his unique background, obviously, and a different player that brings a lot of grit and heart to this team. But and a lot of players that are returning, of course. A great piece is essentially Trevor Stahowiak was kind of the guinea pig a little bit for this month, returning captain, the 12th captain in Toro history, named in the regular season last year. And you're absolutely right. To get an opportunity to be able to highlight so many of these players, coaches, even staff. I mean, when you think about Toro hockey, and a lot of fans, when they go to a game, they might think, oh, well, I see Ken in the press box, I see Cody behind the bench, I see the players, and maybe some volunteers here and there. But it really does take a village and a community to make Toro hockey happen. And for us to highlight it from the leading scorer on the team all the way through till the guy selling popcorn in the far corner of the arena and beyond, and the sponsors that make Toro hockey possible and put it all into one platform, I think for me that's really exciting to kind of just be essentially one of the people that's a conduit for Toro hockey in a printed / digital version. It's amazing.
Well, and I think the corporate buzzword I hate, but synergy of rebranding the show as Tauros Tribune Live and tying things together. You talk about the Trevor Stahowiak experimental, the quick hits video piece that we did. We filmed that at the same time as the piece that we're hoping to see here in a few minutes, the On the Board segment. And really what we're doing from a staff perspective to kind of pull back the curtain is doing those things and tying them all together so that, in the future, say next episode, there's an article in the current Tribune about Weston Knox. Maybe next week at practice, we mic Weston Knox up. And then the week after that, when we're doing the next episode of Tauros Tribune Live, we can have, whether Jeremy on and he can talk about his article with Weston, and then we've got the Weston Knox mic'd up piece. And again, it's tying everything together and really trying to bring our fans in on a more linear story, as opposed to, hey, here's this cool magazine we're doing over here, and here's this show we do every few weeks over there, and then there's the social posts and the website stuff, and it's all different, and none of it seemed connected in the past. And I think the next step for us as an organization is having all of these things tied in and working together.
Yeah, integration, right? And speaking of Weston Knox, great article about him in this month's Tribune, by the way. But when you talk about that as well, you're also thinking about things when you go to the tail end of the Tauros Tribune. You're actually going to get really good access to all our pregame, intermission, in-game events, things that you can sign up for in the Toro app, or things that you can win throughout the game from our great sponsors as well too. So it's meant to be a tool that is something you can sit down on a Sunday after a great weekend, hopefully after a couple of Toro wins, and read about your favorite Toros as you recap the weekend, but also when you're sitting in your seat, during stoppages of play, because you should always be watching the play, because pucks happen to fly out of this rink. I'm just going to tell you that right now.
12 years, I haven't been hit yet, but
yeah, of course I got hit last year when you were gone. But karma continues to evade Ken Oda. But there are things even within game time that you can check out during intermission or between stoppages, and I think that's really exciting too. Like you said, is it's meant to be a multi-dimensional functionality, so to speak, and it's an exciting piece that I really hope expands Toro hockey as more than just players on the ice playing hockey. It's a community event, and we want you to be a part of that.
Well, and I know for me, just growing up in Chicago, being a Chicago sports fan, unfortunately.
Yeah, the Bears, they're really doing great.
Yeah,
right now.
but a lot of that stuff, I grew up going to, I'd go to a couple Cubs games every summer with my family, or I'd go to a Bears game with my dad, and you'd buy the program, and then I'd go home, and all week long I'd sit there and I'd read about all the players and all that stuff, and that to me was a big part of being a fan, and we have such a fantastic fan base. In fact, this summer the league flat out told me that our fan base up here is different, that it's just, we're on another level compared to most teams in our league, and I know that was such a big part of my youth and my sports fandom as I was growing up, that I want to be able to provide those same things for our fans. And you talk about whether it's there was a good piece on Weston Knox. There's you do a great job in your Best Seat in House breakdown of Mason Morelli's goal in the Calder Cup Finals.
Tyler Ebner has a great long expose on him, and
our new assistant coach.
Yeah, and fans are going to love him. I mean, an extremely personable guy, and it almost kind of fits it to a T, right? I mean, Cody Campbell, the head coach, has kind of got to be in that role, and then you have Tyler Ebner, who's kind of more the liaison with players, as a lot of assistant coaches are.
Good cop, bad cop.
Absolutely, and easy to talk to. And I mean, if you want to bash Cody a little bit more, he's right behind us.
Yes,
so I mean,
exactly.
Whatever you want.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, there's so many options with the Tauros Tribune, and I think that one of the things that we look forward to, and we recognize that it's not going to be perfect, so we want to hear your feedback in all facets. But
if there's something you guys want to hear about, please tell us. Yeah,
exactly. It's almost like we've been working together. How did you you talk about that synergy? Are we melding minds?
Yeah,
here? I feel it.
But yeah. So I think before I let you go, before we go to the Stacks piece. We've talked a lot about the Tribune Live, but you're also on the broadcast with me, like I said, for just about all 30 home games. Might miss a couple this year with, having a real job now and all that stuff. But overall, this season coming up, 2023-24, what are you looking forward to most being in the booth?
Well, getting money from a real job, so to speak. That's very exciting. But what I'm looking forward to most, obviously, a group of new faces. When I was plugging in the roster, of course, you look at number 26 last year. It was Chase LaPinta. What a great year he had. Wishing him the best in Dubuque. Obviously, I think he had 2 points in his weekend debut. But now you've got a new number 26, and that jersey's going to get a new name and a new face and a new rebrand. So it's exciting to see these new players come in. But one of the things that I always get excited for is working from the back end up. I love seeing who's going to win out at the goaltending position. Cody Campbell is very strict about the way that he wants to see the guys between the pipes, right? I mean, it's a challenge. I would say it's the most scrutinized position in the game of hockey, and when you have a former Division I goaltender as a head coach, it only makes it more so. And then I love seeing, I feel like, all players, of course, but the defensive core. I like seeing guys really grow in that position, because I think you can really start to see that fleshed out as the years go by. Great example, Colby Vuk, right?
Yeah.
Entering his third season, I mean, he spent probably the first half of his first year in the press box with us. And you looked at him and you're like, man, he just needs to get a little bit bigger, a little bit stronger. Now you look at him, I mean, he's like a poised top pairing defenseman in this league. It's going to be so exciting to see guys like that take steps as returners.
For sure. And on that point, the pair of Weston Knox and Adam Mahler, they played together a lot last year. They played well together. I'm excited to see them. Part of I think what makes a great junior defensive pair is that familiarity, and you don't get that a lot. So to have a couple of guys who are back playing together again, that's a huge advantage.
Yeah, it certainly is, and seeing a lot of those familiar faces. The real question, Ken, first of all, my hope for the season, we see a Toro playoff win under Cody Campbell's tenure. That'd be awesome. But on top of that, who is going to replace Colby Joseph as the fan favorite? That's really what I'm curious about to see. And hey, what better place to flesh out all those personalities than the Tauros Tribune and the Tauros Tribune Live?
Exactly. Well, we'll send it out to another piece. We've talked about it a little bit. We've got Trevor Stahoyak on the boards with Paige Schultz.
Toro fans, joining me now is returner for year 4 and captain Trevor Stahoyak. Trevor, year 4, you've been here the last 3 seasons. How have the last 3 seasons prepared you for this year?
I don't know. I think I've just grown a lot as a player. I think I've kind of tried to be like a sponge, especially my first year. I think I've just grown a lot as a player, and I think as a person too. Just everything's been great, and I think there's been all the tools I need to develop as a player and a person.
This is your last season. What are some of your expectations for this year?
Obviously, I mean, I always expect to do better than the last. I think it's easy to get ahead of yourself and just worry about too many things. But I think I just try to take it like everything, one game at a time, and it's easy to get out of the present. So I think just a big focus for me is staying in the present moment for the whole season.
Last year you were a captain, this year you're a captain, but you have a partner in crime next to your side. What's it been like having Noxie next to you? Yeah,
I love Noxie. I couldn't be happier that we both get to have that role. But I mean, it doesn't really mean too much. We brought in a ton of guys who are all already taking huge steps as leaders, and I think the guys returning are all a bunch of leaders. I mean, we really, I guess it just kind of, we don't really have to do too much because everyone's on the same page. No one guy is kind of carrying the weight, I think. As a leader, you have a big role in the locker room. What is that kind of looking like for this season behind the scenes? I don't know. I don't act a different way. I kind of just be myself. I think along with every single other guy is just being their self. And I don't know. I always like to stay competitive. Like, I guess in the gym or in practice. So I guess maybe that's one thing. But I don't really try to act in a different way. I kind of just like to be myself. And I think when everyone's kind of acting as they're just being themselves, it makes for a good locker room. How is this year's group different than the last 3 years for you? I think we have a very mature and older group. I think we have a ton of guys with experience, not only in junior, but winning championships in the past, and a lot of guys with a competitive and just winning mindset. I think it's made for just a good team spirit and team chemistry right off the jump. Year 2 as a captain, how has your leadership style evolved from last season to this season? Again, I don't really think I changed too much. I think obviously I've learned in the past from other people about maybe just little things and just maybe how to just talk to more guys on the side. But for the most part, I think I'm just staying myself. I'm not wouldn't say I'm the most vocal person. I kind of just try to lead by example and kind of just try to be myself. How is your leadership style different compared to Noxie's? I think we're both quite similar in our mindsets. I guess I would say maybe I'm a little not as vocal as him at times, but obviously I'm gonna speak sometimes. But I think we're pretty similar in the way we kind of go about our daily business, and I don't know. I feel like it's just kind of a good. How is your leadership style different compared to Noxie's? I wouldn't say we're that different as humans. I think we both have pretty similar mindsets, but I mean, our whole team is kind of, I would say, is also pretty similar to us. Everyone's competitive, everyone wants to win, everyone wants to get better every day. So I think maybe Noxie at times a little more vocal, maybe I'm a little quieter sometimes, and sometimes it's the other way around. So I think it's good. We're easy to, I feel like we bounce off each other quite well. Year 4 for you last year, you're on track to beat the most games played as a Toro. What's the feeling like? I'm definitely pretty grateful to have been in the same spot for 4 years. I think it's easy to not find a home in junior hockey, so I think it's pretty special that I've gotten to live with the same billet family, the Carvos, for all 4 years, and just really got to use every tool here to prepare me for college hockey, and it's something that obviously since as a young age I've been working towards, and I think coming here is just giving me everything possible to prepare for that.
How's your overall experience been here in Minot?
Oh, it's been unbelievable. Everything's professional here. There's not a bad thing to say about the organization. I mean, we have not only supporters through our normal staff, but we have volunteers like the Booster Club, and just there's so many things that they do for us that other places you might not have. So obviously I've been here for a long time. I'm just super grateful to have the support.
Thank you so much, Stax, for sitting down with me today.
Thanks for having me.
That was Tauros on the boards with Paige, sitting down with Trevor Stahowiak, only the second captain to have a second season with the C on his jersey. But as you can see, joining Kobe and I now is Tauros head coach Cody Campbell. Cody, welcome in to Tauros Tribune Live and season number 3 as the Tauros head coach. Let's start with it. We've already got fans asking on the feed. 2 weeks off after the showcase, what was that like? From a coaching standpoint, do you feel like it's an advantage or a disadvantage here this early in the season?
I think it's whatever you make it out to be. I'm looking at it as an advantage. We had 2 weeks to do some unique, fun things, team building wise, and also take some time to recover after 4 games in 4 days, and hopefully get the bodies right, and then also take time to break things down a little bit and focus on different areas of really all areas of our game that we are going to need to continuously improve on here throughout the course of the season. We were able to do that without having the pressure of having to implement it right away on a Friday or Saturday night. I think it ends up being 20 days in between games, and there's challenges that go along with that. But like I said, I'm looking at this as a positive. We're well rested. We had time to do things that,
yeah.
Hopefully it's not hailing.
But you mentioned some team building things. You guys took, or you Brad and Tyler took the team camping 2 weekends ago, I think, that first off weekend. What was that like up at Metagoshi?
It was fun. I mean, I had fun. The weather didn't cooperate great, but guys were still able to get out on the lake and canoe, and a couple guys went out fishing and had fires at night and that kind of stuff. So it was fun. It was again just a unique thing that over the course of a typical season you don't have a chance to do. We had a chance to get away from hockey. I mean, the guys weren't talking about it a whole lot. I wasn't talking about it a whole lot. I wasn't thinking about it a whole lot. We were able to go just spend time together and get to know each other away from the rink a little bit, and again take some of the pressure of the season off, which was nice.
And Coach, kind of piggybacking off that, obviously every group that you've had has been very different. Ken kind of hinted at it at the beginning about Stax being back for his second season and how valuable that is and rare that is, and we also have a co-captain for the first time in team history with Weston. And so I guess just kind of talk to us a little bit about the like you said, about the team building, but also just about the leadership from the returners and kind of what the expectations are and how valuable it is that they know those expectations.
Yeah, I mean, it's imperative that they know the expectations, and they have to act as a additional part of the coaching staff. Sometimes it's easier for players to ask another player advice on a system, or did I do this right or whatever, because they're just talking together as teammates, than it is to come up to a coach and talk and that kind of thing. And with Weston and Trevor, along with all of our returners, like those guys, they know what we expect. They know what our standard is. They're going to hold everybody else accountable to that standard and continue to push to raise the bar every day. And those two guys have done a fantastic job thus far in those leadership roles, but we have other guys that have done really, really good jobs as well. Like, Woogie is a guy that he's been here for 3 years, just like Stack, or 3 years with me, like Stacks, and he knows what to expect, and he can help. He was one of the younger guys that, wasn't in the lineup every night his first year and that kind of stuff. And then you look at where he's grown into, it just shows, the process of junior hockey and those kind of things. And all of our returners have been great with that stuff. I've been really impressed with that group. But then we're a very veteran and experienced junior hockey team this year. Like, we have a lot of guys that played at other levels and multiple years at other levels of junior hockey in other leagues. And I found it's made some of that stuff a little bit easier, because they might not know exactly what to expect here, but they know what to expect out of what junior hockey brings. And it's just made some of those transitions easier, I think.
You mentioned a lot of veteran junior players on this year's group. Was that by design, or is that just kind of how it shook out? And also, you look at this group, a lot more size than we've probably ever had here in Minot. Was that by design as well?
Definitely by design on both areas. It's something that I think we needed to address, just in terms of, one, we needed to address depth. The quickest way to do that was with adding veteran players and guys that maybe they hadn't played in this league prior, but they know what it takes to win in junior hockey. And then the size, like, I found the last 2 years we've been on the smaller side, and wore down a little bit at the end of the season. Especially, like, you look at guys like Hunter and Chase last year. Like, I don't know if I can say that they wore down, but they weren't as productive in the playoffs, and that's not a secret to anybody. So to be able to have 4 lines that can roll and be difficult to play against, be able to have, we have 9 defensemen here right now, and I'd be very confident with any one of them, all of them in the lineup at different times. To be able to have that depth and then also be able to lean on other teams to try to wear them down over the course of games and over the course of the season was something that I thought was important. And this has been a little bit of a culmination of, getting here. First year was hectic.
You didn't have an off season.
Yeah, it was hectic, and I felt like I was behind going into my first off season here, just with how everything transpired of me getting here, and now the kind of vision in my head that I had while I was driving out to Watford from Boston is starting to take shape a little bit, which is exciting. But we played 4 games, like, we had a good showing at the showcase, but we're going to go through a lot of ups and downs here together as the year wears on, and we just have to continue to have a day-by-day mindset.
No, absolutely. And just kind of piggybacking off of talking about the showcase, we talked about it a little bit earlier, but sorry for saying piggyback twice there. That was weird of me to do. But
it was pretty weird.
Yeah, my bad. But the showcase, we had conversations over in Blaine about, how important it is to stack those points up. 4 games in 4 days is not easy for anybody. But what did you, like you said, good showing, but what did you think overall just of the team and in their first 4? Obviously, Watford City's its own beast. It's preseason. You're trying to kind of dwindle things down. But over there, 4 very different games, 3 pretty clutch wins. I guess kind of just expand on that a little bit.
Yeah, I was happy with how we played. I mean, there's plenty of things that we need to make sure that are cleaned up here on Friday night. The mistakes that we were making in Blaine that we can't make anymore here as the season gets rolling. But I was incredibly impressed with the team's overall compete level and resolve. And then I was really excited to see that we got scoring from all 4 lines. Everybody, each line scored throughout the course of the weekend. We had D with multiple points, multiple D with multiple points over the course of the weekend. And goaltending was pretty good over the course of the weekend, which was a positive, and it was good. Like those games, if I learned anything my first year, was like those games matter. And even last year, like we don't win one of the ones that we won at the showcase last year, we're sitting at home in late April. So to go 3-1, I felt like we played well enough to win all 4 games there. The last day is a difficult one, and we didn't have a ton of puck luck on that night, and I'm sure we'll play a game where we don't play great and find a way to win here over the course of the season, so those things normally even out. But it was a positive weekend for sure. I think it reinforced to the players that what we're trying to do and what we're trying to teach works when it's executed. And then nothing helps you bond as a group early in the season like winning. And it was cool to see. It's cool to see the excitement in the guys' faces and in their eyes. Those first 3 days you're rolling and you have a chance to go 4-0 there, and then it was also cool to see the disappointment in their eyes after the last game. Not that made it a bad weekend or anything by any means, but it was nice to see that they weren't satisfied with just 3.
You mentioned nothing helps a new team come together like winning. That has been a trend under your tenure here in Minot. 12-6 all time in October are the Tauros under your leadership. What is it about that early year success that you've been able to have? Is it?
I don't think there's any rhyme or reason to that. Okay. October, my first year here, I think was a decent month for us, and I was still learning names. Right. I was still had to use my phone to get to the rink every day.
Right.
I don't know that there's a ton of rhyme or reason behind that, other than the fact that we go hard in training camp. Guys are prepared physically when the season comes around, and I do think that no matter what, that gives you an advantage off the hop.
All right. Well, I think we're pushing almost 45 minutes here for our first episode. So I think we'll take a quick look, Sean, if we've got the October graphic. I mentioned the success the Tauros have had in October. Upcoming games at the Mesa. Tauros have 5 home games this month. This weekend, home opening weekend against the Aberdeen Wings, brought to you by Pearson Chiropractic. Minot Hockey Booster Night on October 19th against Bismarck, and then October 20th and 21st, St. Cloud comes to the Mesa. A lot of fun games, and all 5 of those games are the Circle Sanitation Fill the Bin Coat Drive. So fans, if you've got some new or gently used winter weather gear, we'll be working with community action partners here in Minot to get that all distributed to keep it all local here for our neighbors in need. So by all means, bring that stuff to the rink, any of those 5 games up on the screen, and dump them in the Circle Sanitation bins by the front door. Kobe, I think that's a good first run for Tauros Tribune Live. I don't think we were banking on a 45-minute episode, but
I forgot how much Cody loves to talk. That's what it was.
Yeah, for sure. It was all me.
So thank you all for tuning in. For Cody Campbell, Noah Grant, Kobe Brault, I'm Ken Oda. Hoping you enjoyed the show. We'll see you at the rink this Friday. Tauros and Wings at 7:35.